این روزی است که قرنها آرزوی آن را داشتیم.
We felt the weight of the world on our shoulder. We knew that people were looking at us worldwide.
روزی که سه مرد بر سر همه چیز قمار کردند.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. We knew that Dad had to go on this trip. And I think they only thought they had a 50-50 chance of doing it.
و این روزی است که دنیا تغییر کرد.
I think it is the greatest achievement in the history of human civilization.
تمام ماجرا 400,000 کیلومتر دورتر در فضا روی داد، اما 5 میلیارد نفر آن را روی زمین تماشا کردند.
What an amazing thing to witness.
You remember where you were, right?
و البته این روز روزی پر مخاطره هم بود.
We all knew we had 3 things were going to happen. We were going to land, we were going to abort, or we were going to crash.
وقتی که توفیق و شکست در کسری از ثانیه رقم خورد.
And bang, we got this computer alarm.
1202 alarm. My first thought was we're dead in the water.
با این تصاویر بی همتای ترمیم و اصلاح رنگ شده، شما شاهد لحظه به لحظه و پشت صحنه داستان کسانی هستید که آنجا بودند، کسانی که آنها را به آنجا فرستادند و کسانی که با این واقعه برای همیشه زندگیشان تغییر کرد.
By golly, we got a man on the moon. We just put him there.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
این داستان روزی است که ما بر ماه قدم گذاشتیم. ژوئیه 1969 نخستین گام را روی کره ماه گذاشتیم، اما رئیس جمهوری کندی تصمیم به انجام این کار را در اوایل این دهه گرفته و آن را در یکی از سخنرانی‌های معروفش اعلام کرده بود.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I was thrilled to be part of fulfilling President John F. Kennedy's dream of man on the moon by the end of the decade. However, the moon was so far away, so remote. Was this really going to happen?
When Kennedy made that beautiful speech, we choose to go to the moon. Remember that from an engineering perspective, we did not know how to do that.
آمریکا باید به سرعت می‌آموخت. آن زمان اوج جنگ سرد بود. مسابقه فضایی پیشتر آغاز شده بود و شوروی نخستین ماهواره‌ی جهان سپاتنیک را در مدار قرار داده بود.
Sputnik was launched on a rocket, and people understood that if the Soviet Union had the capability to launch things into space, that there was likelihood that they also had the capability to launch warheads.
There's no doubt that Sputnik 1 scared the Americans to death, and they suddenly realized they had to pull their finger out and get on it.
Russia had got the first object into space, they got the first animal into space, and they got the first person into space. And the Americans, with their technical superiority, or so they thought, felt on the back foot.
کندی به این نتیجه رسید که برای برتری به شوروی باید یک انسان به کره ماه بفرستد.
President Kennedy set out the challenge to do it in the 60s, and everybody devoted their total life to doing that.
برآورده کردن آرزوی کندی در یک دهه کار ساده‌ای نبود. این کار مستلزم تلاش منظم یک ملت بود که در زمان صلح بی سابقه بود.
The scale of Project Apollo is hard to really even conceive of. At the peak, over 400,000 people were involved. The program cost, at the time, $25 billion, which was more than the Manhattan Project, more than the Panama Canal.
I think it was George H.W. Bush who said that it was the best investment since Leonardo da Vinci had been given a sketchbook. And he's right.
برنامه ناسا به بیش از سرمایه نیاز داشت. به کسانی نیاز داشت که حاضر باشند جان خود را به خطر بیاندازند و هدایت فضاپیمای تجربی را بر عهده بگیرند. در 1961 آلن شپارد نخستین آمریکایی بود که به فضا رفت. در 1962 جان گلن به دور مدار زمین چرخید. تا زمانی که پروژه‌های مرکوری و جمنای در میانه دهه 60 جایشان را به پروژه آپولو دادند، فضانوردان آمریکایی ستاره اصلی این میدان بودند.
Most of us came from the military, where we'd been almost incognito and all of a sudden you're celebrities.
I thought these guys were the coolest guys walking the planet. You know, this is the time the Beatles were around. I thought they were cooler than the Beatles.
I wouldn't call it a rock star quite, but you could get a real swell head if you didn't watch out because you got a lot of attention.
32 فضانورد در برنامه آپولو مشغول به کار بودند، اما تنها 3 تن با آپولو 11 به ماه رفتند. مسئول هدایت سفینه اصلی مایکل کالینز 38 ساله بود که تنها فرماندهی بود که قرار نبود روی ماه قدم بگذارد.
Clearly, I did not have the best of the 3 seats. However, I thought it was a great honor to be a part of the Apollo 11 crew.
درست است که خلبان سفینه ماهنشین باز آلدرین بر روی ماه گام نهاد، اما برای اندی پسر 11 سالش این مسئله خیلی مهم نبود.
My dad wasn't cool because he was an astronaut, because everybody's dad was an astronaut. My dad was cool because he could pole vault, you know, and nobody's dad could pole vault.
نخستین کسی که پا بر کره ماه نهاد فرمانده این عملیات دنیل آرمسترانگ 38 ساله بود.
Well, Neil Armstrong was probably the perfect choice to make the first step on the moon. He was dedicated, he was competent.
Probably one of the coolest guys I'd ever known. By cool, I mean steady under pressure. He was unflappable.
تحمل زیادش را در ماه مه 1968 امتحان کردند، زمانی که آرمسترانگ در شبیه سازی نشستن بر ماه در پایگاه هوایی اولینگتون در هیوستون این کار را آزمایش کرد. 200 پا بالای زمین به ناگهان فشار در سفینه‌اش کم شد و او مجبور به خروج اضطراری در ارتفاع 70 متری گردید. خطر مرگ از بیخ گوشش گذشت و حالا نوبت خود مأموریت بود.
When mom and dad called us for a meeting in the dining room, it's like,
what trouble are we in?
Yeah, we're in trouble. This must be serious.
And basically said, just want you guys to know that there is some risk in this mission, but you know we're confident we're coming back at least. Whether we get to land or not, we don't know.
The way that the crew viewed it was this would be the first mission to attempt to land. And I think they only thought they had a 50-50 chance of doing it.
صبح روز 16 ژوئیه 1969 روز پرتاب و آغاز مأموریت. تا چند ساعت آینده فضانوردها سفر 4 روزه خود به ماه را آغاز می‌کنند. مستقر در نوک یکی از قوی‌ترین موشک‌های ساخته شده آنها آماده نشستند.
When I drove up, it was dark. I drove past, I don't know, a couple 100,000 people at 5 o'clock in the morning. They'd been there all night. And there was the Saturn lighted on the launch pad. And it is in the middle of this black ocean. Oh God, what an excitement.
The press were in a sort of corral about 2.5 miles away from the launch site. I don't think anyone was allowed nearer than about 2 miles. I mean, quite apart from us, there were hundreds of thousands of people who would be camping on the dunes. It's almost like a sort of jamboree thing.
I'm outside and it's sunny now.
David Shoemaker is at the press site. David?
Walter, good morning. Of the more than 3,000 reporters assigned here, at least a third...
It was a beautiful day. God, it was beautiful. It was just, everything was perfect.
Swing arm now coming back as our countdown continues.
در روزگاری که اخبار 24 ساعته در تلویزیون‌ها نبود، همه شبکه‌ها برنامه‌های خود را به صورت زنده به این ماجرا اختصاص دادند. یکی از تماشاگران فضانورد آینده مایک ماسیمینو بود.
In July of 1969, I was 6 years old. I was sitting there watching the black and white television in the living room. I remember thinking as I was watching that launch that this was the most important thing that ever happened in the history of the world, I thought, as a little boy. Same time, I was a big baseball fan. The New York Mets, my team, won the World Series that year. 2 miracles happened in the summer of 1969.
T-minus 25 seconds.
That rocket was big. I mean, there's no way that rocket gets off the ground.
Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
There was just a huge flash and a fantastic noise. Almost like a bomb going off. Wow, shattering.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
خانواده نیل آرمسترانگ به دور از جمعیت ماجرا را از درون یک قایق که برای همین کار اجاره شده بود تماشا می‌کردند.
We were sort of off to the right. And what this meant was that all the exhaust came our way.
And you know, this buffeting of air against your chest is just, it's like nothing, you know, I've ever felt since.
And you say, how is that standing straight up? I mean, it's barely moving. I mean, it's inching, and it's inching, and it's inching.
درون سفینه 3 مرد جانشان را کف دستشان گرفته بودند تا آرزوی قرنها را برآورده کنند.
When the rocket goes up, it's very stately, no deviation of path. Inside, it doesn't feel that way at all. The engines down below you are swiveling to keep it in balance, and so you're feeling little sideways jerks.
And suddenly, I don't know, it overcomes gravity, and a swoosh.
موشک ساترن 5 توانست آپولو 11 را از اتمسفر زمین خارج کند. فقط 12 دقیقه بعد آنها در مدار بودند و بزرگترین ماجراجویی بشر آغاز شد. اکنون 16 ژوئیه 1969 است. مردم در پایگاه فضایی کیپ کندی شاهد یکی از بزرگترین رویدادهای این قرن بودند. یکی پس از دیگری بخش‌های مصرف شده موشک ساترن 5 از آن جدا می‌شد و موتور مرحله سوم آغاز به کار کرد. آپولو 11 اکنون در مسیر ماه بود. در روز دوم فضانوردان آرمسترانگ، آلدرین و کالینز به نیمه راه رسیده بودند و روحیه‌شان همچنان قوی بود. روی زمین سپاهی از خبرنگارها در حال گزارش لحظه به لحظه این سفر بودند.
It was a story that everyone could join in and feel part of. I mean, I suspect when perhaps in another 2 or 3 centuries people are going to be looking back on this like a Columbus moment.
اما درست خلاف دوره کریستوف کلمب، فرد روی ماه را میلیون‌ها نفر از طریق پخش زنده تلویزیونی تماشا می‌کردند.
With the latest developments from the Apollo 11 moon mission, correspondent Walter Cronkite.
We realized we were in a seminal moment in not only in American history, but in television history.
The latest developments from the moon
mission, as you have heard,
And we had gone to the moon lots of times in our rehearsals. But this was live television. This was astronauts putting their life on the line.
We felt sort of the weight of the world on our shoulder. We knew that people were looking at us worldwide.
خانواده فضانوردها هم نگاه می‌کردند. اما آنها فقط دنبال کننده خبر نبودند، بخشی از این ماجرا بودند.
The coverage was pretty much non-stop. We lived in that bubble and space mania was there all the time. I think it was a huge challenge for my mom in a lot of different ways. I think she was primarily concerned about protecting the kids.
Andy, would you like to go to the moon?
Well, I haven't really decided yet.
I didn't know you'd had it in mind. I couldn't go through this twice, I'll tell you.
We were watching along with everyone else. The only difference was that in our house we also had a squawk box, so we could listen to some of the air-to-ground transmissions.
Good radar data. We're now in the approach phase. Everything looking good.
Our mother, she was very tough. And we're amazed at, because she had to be worried. She had to be, you know, just absolutely deathly frightened. But we never saw that.
ساعت 8 صبح یکشنبه 20 ژوئیه. همزمان با چرخش فضانوردان در مدار ماه، کارمندان بخش کنترل به محل کارشان در مرکز فضایی هیوستون تگزاس می‌روند. تنها 7 ساعت بعد جین کرانز مدیر پرواز شاهد فرود آپولو 11 بر سطح ماه بود.
You have a single shot to get things right. Are we go to start the descent? Are we go to continue descent? Are we go for the landing?
استیو بیلز زیر دست کرانز کار میکرد. او خیلی از فارغ التحصیلیش نمیگذشت که پیشرفت فضاپیما را ردیابی و سیستم هدایت را رصد کرد.
Can you imagine? Here we are. They're letting people like me, 26 years old, sit at consoles. If we made a mistake, it wasn't just us that were in trouble.
3 سال پس از این چارلی دوک فضانوردی است که خود پا بر خاک ماه می‌گذارد. امروز او مسئول ارتباطات با فضاپیماست. تنها عضوی از گروه که می‌تواند در زمان فرود مستقیم با فضانوردان صحبت کند.
My focus was let's get to the moon and let's land on the moon. That was what I was focused on. Let's just get it done.
That this was a very young group of people who were going to do something monumental, and they were willing to take the risk to be the ones that if we didn't get the crew back, we were the ones that were responsible for that.
Delta 6-0, first time 557.
مرکز فرماندهی از طریق بیسیم با فضانوردان در ارتباط بود. در سفری که تقریباً تمامی آن را با کامپیوتر برنامه‌ریزی کرده بودند. در هیوستون به سختی مشغول کار بودند که سفینه ماهنشین آغاز به کم کردن ارتفاع کرد.
From 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, we worked like the Dickens to get that vehicle powered up, to get it checked out, to get the computer system turned on, to get all its systems aligned just right. And we wanted this to be a success. So did the country, but we really did.
برای نشستن بر سطح ماه یک مرد نقش منحصر به فردی بازی کرده بود. 6 ماه قبل فرانک بورمان با آپولو 8 به فاصله 100 کیلومتری سطح ماه رفت و یکی از نخستین کسانی شد که کره زمین را از فضا دید.
I think the most inspiring side of my life was looking back at the Earth from the moon.
پس از این او به کاخ سفید می رود. کار او این است که برای رئیس جمهوری ریچارد نیکسون توضیح دهد که عملیات فرود بر ماه چطور پیش رفته.
I don't think President Nixon was an expert in any way in the space program, but he was enthusiastic about it.
همه دستیاران رئیس جمهوری می دانستند که اهمیت چند ساعت آینده در چیست.
We knew that this was capturing the attention of the world. We were told that by the networks every night. So yes, we knew that this was of worldwide consequence.
چیزهای بیش از آپولو به دولت نیکسون به ارث رسیده بود. در خانه تظاهرات افزایش می‌یافت و بیش از 500,000 نیروی آمریکایی در ویتنام مشغول جنگ بودند.
You got to understand the times. We were all beginning to wonder about Vietnam. And Martin Luther King gets shot. And then Bobby Kennedy gets shot. And suddenly people are saying, what in the hell is happening to our country?
We were dealing with demonstrations and we were dealing with significant kickback to the Vietnam War. So it was kind of like the moon landing was a breath of fresh air where we could all come together and celebrate at least one thing that united all Americans.
فرود بر سطح ماه می توانست به محبوبیت رئیس جمهوری بیفزاید، اما اگر عملیات با توفیق انجام می شد.
I told President Nixon if there was a disaster, he would get the blame for it. So I said, although I didn't anticipate it, be prepared in case we have to send messages to 3 widows.
اکنون در مرکز فرماندهی فضاپیماهای با سرنشین ظهر فرداست و تا زمان مقرر برای فرود بر ماه کمتر از 4 ساعت مانده. جین کرانز مدیر پرواز آماده ایراد مهمترین سخنرانی زندگی خود می شود.
I called my team together. We went to a very private communications loop. No one else could hear what I was going to say, and I told them how proud I was of them. And I told them that I believed in them, and I will stand behind every decision you make.
And he said, I want you to know something. It's hard for me to even say this. I want you to know something. however this turns out, we're going to go out of this room as a team.
Work that we are going to do today is going to be in the history books, and you are going to be the ones that accomplish this task.
He didn't say this, but we all knew we had three things were going to happen. We were going to land, we were going to abort, or we were going to crash. And I didn't like to think about the other two.
We're about to open the hatch now. Right.
در ساعت 12:32 بعد از ظهر آرمسترانگ و آلدرین بازرسی ماهنشین را به پایان بردند و آماده جدا شدن از سفینه شدند. کالینز در سفینه ماند. آنها آماده سفر خطرناک خود بر سطح کره ماه می‌شدند.
Roger, go ahead, Houston, final 11.
در طرف دورتر ماه، یعنی 400,000 کیلومتر دورتر از زمین، مانور خارق‌العاده‌ای بنا بود انجام شود. دو فضانورد، نیل آرمسترانگ و باز آلدرین که مایکل کالینز را پشت سر گذاشته بودند تا در ماه به دور مدار بگردند، حالا سوار بر ماهنشین هستند. اسم رمز عقاب است و این وسیله‌ای است که آنها را به سطح ماه میبرد.
Roger, how does it look? Roger.
It's a spectacular spacecraft, and one of the things that's very distinctive about it is it doesn't look like it'd be very good at flying. But one thing that you have to remember is that they didn't have to worry about it being aerodynamic because they didn't have to worry about traveling through the atmosphere. But they did have to worry about weight. They had to make sure that this spacecraft was as light as possible. So one of the things that they put into the design is they took out the seats and they had the astronauts stand as they landed.
You got a fine looking flying machine there, Eagle, despite the fact you're upside down.
Michael Collins, who of course is that unique person who has been the most alone human being ever, because he was the other side of the moon when his mates were this side of the moon and the rest of humanity was over there on the earth, you know.
I was amazed to be accused of being the loneliest man in the whole lonely planet behind the lonely satellite, and wasn't it lonely? And the answer to all those is no, I was fine. I considered myself to be almost like a king. It was my domain. I was happy there. I was their ticket home.
I never asked him a really tough question, I would think. What would you have done if those two guys hadn't been able to launch back off the moon and rendezvous with you?
It was nothing we had ever discussed. However, it was a reality that all three of us understood quite clearly. I wasn't going to commit suicide if they were going to stay forever on the surface of the moon. Yes, I would be coming home by myself.
We had obits on the three astronauts. In that sense, I guess you could say that we were prepared for the worst. I know that the White House had written a speech for the president if the mission failed.
This is a document here that deals with the possible contingency should something have gone wrong. It talks about the brave men and their sacrifice for the good of mankind. And in fact, he even goes here and says that Mother Earth that dared to send two men into the unknown, that these men will be missed.
Eagle, we got you now. It's looking good, over. Roger, copy.
اکنون اتاق فرماندهی باید به هدفی که در ابتدای این دهه تعیین شده بود دست پیدا می‌کرد و آن چالش فرود بر سطح ماه بود. سالها آمادگی برای اتفاقی که چند دقیقه بعد باید روی میداد.
You could cut the tension in that room with a knife. It was like everybody knew this was the game. This was it. This is what we're going to do.
Things were proceeding right on schedule until the descent started, and then things began to not come in completely unglued, but a lot of problems developed as we started down.
The communications are ragged. It's just complete static. It's almost impossible to hear. You can't hear the crew.
As a mission rule, if you had so many seconds of data dropout that could lead to an abort.
I have one decision that is solely the flight director's responsibility. Do we have enough information to start the descent to the surface of the moon?
Roger, you're a go to continue power descent. You're a go to continue power descent.
کرانز به این نتیجه رسید که فرود میتواند انجام شود، اما این فقط اول مشکلاتی است که در انتظار اوست.
When you're going down this little vehicle 9 miles above the moon at 5,000 miles an hour, it's nothing that's particularly safe.
Looking good. Roger, Neil.
And bang, we got this computer alarm.
1202, standing by. 1202 alarm.
1202 came in and it just hung in the air there for seconds. 1202, can you give us some help there?
1202, what's that? 1202 alarm.
هیچ کس مطمئن نیست که اخطار 1202 چه معنایی دارد، اما خبر خوبی نیست.
My first thought was, we're dead in the water. It's abort.
مرکز فرماندهی حالا باید تصمیم می‌گرفت که اخطار 1202 چقدر اهمیت دارد. آیا فرود می‌تواند اتفاق بیفتد؟ اکنون آپولو 11 30,000 پا بالای سطح دریای آسایش بود. این نقطه ای از ماه بود که بنا بود در آن فرود بیاید. اینجا روی زمین خانواده فضانوردان بیخبر از همه مشکلاتی که در فضا در حال روی دادن است ماجرا را دنبال می‌کردند.
We were obviously glued to the squawk box, watching TV, but I didn't really understand just how perilous it had gotten. I think I had a disturbing amount of faith in the technology, and I was crazy, right? Because the amount of risk that we were taking on in that whole mission. If I had known that as an 11-year-old, I'd have been a lot more nervous, I think.
اتاق فرمان در حال طراحی پرش بزرگی به آینده با اتکا به تکنولوژی آن زمان بود. 7 دقیقه تا فرود زمان باقی مانده بود و کامپیوتر ماهنشین پر از اطلاعات بود.
This computer was a marvelous thing for its time. But still, think of all it had to do. It had to figure out how fast it was going, display some information to the crew, send some information to us, and all the time guide the vehicle. And it was done on a system that was smaller than your cell phone, a lot smaller than your cell phone.
1202, standing by. 1202.
اخطار 1202 به اتاق فرمان میگفت که کامپیوتر نمیتواند تمام کارهایش را درست انجام دهد. استیو بیلز باید تصمیم میگرفت که آیا مأموریت میتواند ادامه یابد یا نه.
Steve was doing exactly what he should have. He checked with his backroom people. He knew how to use the seconds he had, but I was sure hoping he'd hurry up.
حالا کم کم فضانوردان هم نگران میشدند.
Give us a reading on the 1202 program alarm.
15 seconds may seem like a short time, but when you're in the middle of landing on the moon, 15 seconds is like an eternity.
بیلز تصمیم گرفت. با اینکه بار زیادی بر دوش کامپیوتر بود، همچنان میتوانست اطلاعات اساسی لازم را پردازش کند. اخطار جدی نیست. فرود انجام می شود.
Steve Bales hollered, "We're go on that alarm flight."
We're going that alarm. Roger, we got you. We're going that alarm.
If I recall, I didn't even wait for Gene Kranz to say we're go. I just clicked my button and I said, "You're going that alarm."
Eagle Houston, you're a go for landing. Over. Roger, understand. Go for landing. 3,000 feet.
1202 یکی از 5 اخطاری بود که هنگام فرود آرمسترانگ و آلدرین بر سطح ماه به صدا درآمد. سطح کره‌ای که پر از پستی بلندی‌ها، دهانه‌های آتشفشانی و چین خوردگی هاست.
A landing on the moon is very demanding. It takes a lot of skill. It takes a cool mind and presence. You start seeing things that you didn't see in the photographs. You know, man, there's a lot of rocks down there. Man, look at all these craters.
اکنون در هیوستون با مشکل دیگری هم برای فرود مواجه شدند. هنگام فرود مشخص شد که سفینه به سمت زمین‌های سنگلاخ می‌رود. درست زمانی که آلدرین ارتفاع و سرعت را مشخص می‌کند. فرمانده عملیات کنترل اوضاع را به دست گرفته.
There was nothing that Armstrong could do but take the controls and land the spacecraft himself.
540 feet and a 15.
He overflew the primary landing site and went beyond it because he didn't like what he saw.
540 feet and a 15.
اما همانطور که آرمسترانگ از روی سنگ‌ها می‌گذشت و به دنبال جای امنی برای فرود بود، سوخت کمیابش را هم استفاده می‌کرد.
They knew they were going long, and they knew they were getting low on fuel. And the combination of the two ain't good.
50 down at 2.5.
برای نخستین بار اتاق فرماندهی هیچ قدرتی نداشت. همه چیز در دست فضانوردان بود.
Altitude velocity light. 3.5 down, 220 feet.
It was Neil's decision, land or abort.
Coming down nicely, 200 feet.
The flight director said no more calls except for fuel. In other words, anything we would have said would just got in their way.
Okay, the only call outs from now on will be fuel.
And so I radioed Eagle 60 seconds, and that meant he had 60 seconds for fuel to land, or we would have an abort.
60 seconds. Lights on. Down 2.5. Forward. Forward.
Then I called 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Uh-oh.
30 seconds. Forward.
He still wasn't on the ground, but he was close.
Forward. Forward. 40 feet down, 2.5. Picking up some dust. 30 feet, 2.5 down. Great shadow.
I had never felt such tension in mission control as we were going into these last few seconds.
And he doesn't. He just greases the baby in.
Contact light. Okay, engine stop.
When I heard Buzz say contact, engine stop, I said, copy you down, Eagle.
We copy you down, Eagle.
A few seconds later, that's when Neil said, in the calmest voice I can imagine,
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
I was so excited I couldn't even pronounce tranquility. It came out twang.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
I've always thought when he said you got a bunch of guys about to turn blue, he was looking right at me because I must have been one of the bluest of the blue. It was incredible.
Tranquility. Be advised there are lots of smiling faces in this room and all over the world. Over.
I thought Neil carried the whole thing off beautifully with about maybe 30 seconds of fuel remaining. That's a lot.
خبر فرود در چند ثانیه به کل دنیا رسید.
We were watching Channel 2 in New York, which was Walter Cronkite at the time. You know, he was a guy to listen to for this sort of stuff.
I don't know if Cronkite was crying. I was crying. I mean, this is just too much. I mean, man on the moon?
That's where these guys were. They're up there. They're actually up there.
از سنترال پارک تا مرکز لندن، از آمریکای جنوبی تا آفریقا و آسیا، تقریبا در هر کشوری به جز چین و اتحاد جماهیر شوروی این خبر با شگفتی و شور پخش شده بود.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Everybody remembers where they were. I was with Roger Taylor, who was my drummer already, and it was the very beginnings of Queen, and we were down in Cornwall staying at Roger's mum's house, and she had a telly with a screen about this big, and we all sat around it and watched this incredible thing, almost unbelievable.
After the landing, the thing I remember was that when it came out, we had the most beautiful moon in the sky. And now I took a look up there, it was really my first thought is, by golly, we got a man on the moon. We just put him there.
لحظه‌ای تاریخی، اما تاریخی ترین بخش آن هنوز اتفاق نیفتاده. جهان منتظر بود تا نیل آرمسترانگ آماده شود که نخستین گام‌ها را بر ماه بگذارد. 20 ژوئیه 1969 سفینه ماهنشین حدود 7 ساعت است که بر سطح ماه قرار گرفته. آرمسترانگ و آلدرین بنا بود که استراحت کنند، اما به نظر میرسد این کار ساده ای نیست.
and they're getting ready to step out onto the moon's surface far earlier than had been planned.
It was a moment that the Earth stopped still to watch. But I don't think anything since then has caused that moment of pausing, where there's something that's so exciting happening that everybody wants to stop and see it.
38-year-old Neil Armstrong will begin to step down the 9 steps of the lunar landing module to the surface of the moon itself. And what a moment that will be.
He came from the crew compartment near the top of the lunar module. He released the television camera. It's a slow scan television camera, and this is the image that went to television sets around the world.
And we're getting a picture on the TV.
It allowed the world to witness the first lunar landing and feel like participants.
بیش از 500 میلیون نفر آماده تجربه مشترک ثانیه‌های تاریخی آینده بودند.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. Neil, we can see you coming.
You're really leaning in, trying to figure out, what's going on and where's the bottom of the ladder and.
I'm gonna step off the limb now.
Nobody knew what he was going to say. Couldn't have been a better thing to say.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The waiting world and the watching world, those words were very, very powerful.
Surface is fine and powdery.
I think that he had thought about a number of things that he might say, but my belief is that he didn't make a decision about what he would say until they had actually landed.
Okay, I'm gonna leave that 1 foot up there and
19 دقیقه پس از آرمسترانگ، باز آلدرین گام بر سطح ماه نهاد.
There you go. Beautiful, beautiful. Isn't that something?
I'm watching it and I'm convinced that, my dad's going to hop, he's going to trip, he's going to fall on the moon, flat on his back, of course, like a dead bug in front of 600 million people. But really, most importantly, this is going to be in front of my 200 classmates.
Magnificent sight out here. Magnificent desolation.
فضانوردان 2 ساعت و ربع بیرون فضاپیما بودند. هر دقیقه‌اش با دقت برنامه‌ریزی شده بود و بیش از همه لحظه افراشتن پرچم بود.
NASA suggested playing the Star Spangled Banner while the crew was on the moon, and I was opposed to that.
Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes from the lunar now.
We didn't need to magnify the American achievement by playing the Star Spangled Banner because everybody in the world knew it was American crew anyway.
We weren't colonizing space. We weren't claiming territory for ourselves. But it certainly brought America together. Certainly did that. When you've gone through what we went through in those 1960s, for a brief time at least, America was back.
فضانوردان آزمایش‌های علمی انجام دادند. نمونه‌هایی از سنگ‌های ماه را برای تحلیل و بررسی جمع‌آوری کردند و عکس‌های یادگاری گرفتند.
Some of them are iconic, like the picture of Buzz in his spacesuit standing on the moon, and you can see the photographer, Neil Armstrong, mirrored in the visor.
For me, the greatest image is the footprint, and it's a very simple, iconic image. Footprints are evocative things. Why are we the way we are? One of the reasons is we began to walk upright in Africa, and only 4 million years later, there's a footprint on the moon. You juxtapose those two things, and you see what we've managed to do as a species in a very short space of geological time.
Neil and Buzz, the President of the United States is in his office now and would like to say a few words to you. Over.
پس از تماشای فرود از کاخ سفید، رئیس جمهوری وقت نیکسون با خیال راحت نخستین مکالمه تلفنیش با کره ماه را برقرار کرد.
I just can't tell you how proud we all are of what you have done.
صحبت‌های رئیس جمهوری با دقت توسط فرانک بورمن ویرایش شده بود.
NASA had sent over a suggested script involved Nixon taking credit for the success of the landing. I pointed out to him that he really didn't do anything for the landing. That was all prior to his administration. I don't think you should do this. And he agreed with me.
Because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world.
او با نشاندن مردانش بر کره ماه می توانست ابرقدرت باشد و وقتی فضانوردان پلاکی برای بازدید کنندگان آینده گذاشتند، پیامشان جهانی شده بود.
I sat in several meetings as we scripted what would be left on the moon, but when push came to shove, everything always went back to the very basics.
Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, became in peace for all mankind.
And the important thing there was for all mankind, not just for the United States of America, but we came on behalf of the world.
پس از 21 ساعت و 36 دقیقه توقف بر سطح ماه، سفینه ماهنشین آماده شد تا موتور بالا رونده‌اش را برای صعود روشن کند.
Tranquility Base, Houston, you're cleared for takeoff.
The part of the flight that I was most concerned about was their ascent.
Roger, understand. We're number one on the runway. Roger.
If they couldn't get off, they were dead.
On, port stage, engine arm ascent, proceed.
When we knew that the ascent engine had fired, the monster that lived under my bed, right, had been slayed.
Oh, beautiful. Very smooth.
At that moment, the world went to the moon. It's as if we were all with them. And I think that's why Kennedy was so clever, because if you just send an object to the moon, that's great. But if you send people, we go there with them, we feel the emotion, we share the joy.
I had the sense that it wasn't just every American who was interested, but it was people from around the world. The whole world stopped and took notice, and everyone could agree that this was a good thing, unless you were extremely grumpy.
و به این ترتیب توفیقی در دل جنگ سرد برای کل بشریت به ارمغان آمد.
After the flight of Apollo 11, we were privileged to make a world tour, and I was amazed by the reception that we got. Everywhere we went, people felt part of it. And I thought that was a wonderful, wonderful response.
برنامه آپولو در سال 1972 به پایان رسید، اما از خود یادگار مهمی بر جا نهاد و همه کسانی که در این پروژه بودند روزی که ما گام بر ماه گذاشتیم را فراموش نمی کنند.
We had this dream that we're going to go do this thing. We were challenged by President Kennedy to do this with tens of thousands of things that had to work perfectly. And we made it happen.
It's one small step for man.
Hey, we did it. We human beings have left the planet, gone to the moon.
One giant leap for mankind.
This moment where we first stepped on to another heavenly body, I'm just very, very thankful that my generation got to do that.